Hi, in this video, we will see how to create a CDML pipeline to deploy a .NET Core application to IIS in Azure DevOps. So we will create a deployment environment in Azure DevOps and then create a CDML pipeline for a .NET Core web application and then deploy it on IIS. We will use a VM hosted on Azure for this. And these are some prerequisites. So here I have a simple .NET Core web application created in .NET 6.0. And the application is hosted on Azure repositories. So here is the repository for the same application. I have also created a Windows Server 2019 VM on Azure, which we will use for deployment. So on this VM, let's install IIS first. So in Server Manager under Add Roles and Features, I'll select Web Server IIS, click on Add Features, click on Next, select these options and install. So now the installation of IIS is done on the VM. For hosting a .NET Core application in IIS, we also need a .NET Core hosting bundle, so we will install that too. Let's create a new build pipeline for this core web application. So I'll go to pipeline, click on new, select the repository. I'll rename the pipeline as core web app 02 underscore build pipeline. And here instead of vs build command, I will use the .NET Core CLI command. So delete this task. Under task, select .NET Core, select build command, click on add, pass the project parameter. The value will be $solution. To pick the solution name, pass another parameter for configuration. We will use release build configuration, so it is already defined in the pipeline in this variable. So I'll pass that. Now add another .NET Core task to publish the application. Select .NET Core and in the command select publish. Uncheck zip published projects and click on add. So this will publish our web application. Pass another parameter to use the build configuration and set the output directory to artifact staging directory to copy the published files. So I'll pass configuration as build configuration and set output to build.artifact staging directory. Now we also need to publish this artifact as an artifact for the pipeline. So I will use another task, publish pipeline artifacts. In the file or directory path, build.artifact staging directory. We can remove the published location, and for artifact name, we can use core web app 02 drop. Now save this pipeline and run this. So as you can see that our pipeline has successfully executed and it has produced one artifact. So now we will deploy this artifact using a deployment YAML pipeline. Before creating the YAML pipeline for deployment, we need to create an environment in Azure DevOps. So this environment will be used in our YAML pipeline for deployment, and this environment will connect to our server VM01 on which we will do the deployment on IIS. So click on create environment, provide an environment name, select virtual machines, click on next. Since our virtual machine is a Windows machine, so select Windows here, copy this script and go to that VM. So I've opened PowerShell in administrator mode here. So just paste the script here and click on enter. This will take some time and provide some options to configure the Azure agent. So for resource tags question, press enter. We don't want to give any resource tags. For service SID type unrestricted agent service, set yes. And for NT authority system account, press enter. And to start the service immediately, just press enter. So now the server VM01 is connected to our deployment environment. So if we go back to the environment and click on resources, so here you can see server VM01. After creating the environment, now let's create the deployment pipeline. So click on new pipeline, select Azure Repos Git, select the console web app 2. Now here we will select starter pipeline. I'll rename the pipeline as core web app 02 deployment pipeline. Delete the pool VM image, and in trigger I'll set it as none because we don't want to trigger the pipeline at every check-in. Now we will define two variables here. One is IIS web app name. So I'll name it as core web app 02 IIS, and another variable for IIS website name. The value will be default website. Delete rest of the scripts. Now we will use the artifact created by the CI pipeline in the deployment pipeline. So for that we have to define the resources here. So for pipeline, provide the value as build pipeline. So what this will do is it will create a folder named build pipeline and download our artifacts on the deployment machine. We have to define the project name here. So currently the project is project 1, and then we have to define the source pipeline. So here we have to use the pipeline name of the CI pipeline. So it is core web app 02 underscore build pipeline. And for branch, provide the value as master. Now we will define the stages. Under that, define our first stage. Call it as stage underscore deploy web app. Provide a display name here. Now under a stage, we can define multiple jobs. I'll define jobs here. So it is a deployment job. So we will define deployment here. Let's call it as job deploy web app. And for display name, job deploy web app. Now we need to provide the environment name here. So our environment is deployment env01 and the resource name is server vm01. So for environment, we have to use the syntax as environment.resource name. Under that, we have to provide a strategy. Strategy will be run once. So under steps, I'll provide checkout as none, and then provide another task to download the artifact. So we have to use the build pipeline name here that we have provided here. Provide a name to display while executing the pipeline. Call it as download build artifacts. Provide the name of the artifact that we have provided in our build pipeline. So it was core web app 02 drop. So here we can see that we have provided the name as core web app 02 drop. Now we will define a task to stop IIS first. So for that we can use a task from here. Search for IIS. Select IIS web app manage. From the action, select stop. Provide few additional parameters here. So I'll provide the name as stop IIS and display name would be the same. Under inputs, we have to provide the name of the website. For that, define the parameter as start stop website name, and we will use the variable defined here, the IIS website name. We'll use variables .IIS website name. Add another task to recycle the application pool first. So again, select IIS web app manage, select IIS application pool, and from action dropdown, select recycle. And for application pool name, provide value as default app pool. Click on add. Provide the name and display name here. Correct the indentation. Now after stopping the IIS, let's add another task to deploy the web application. So under tasks, search for IIS again. Now this time select web app deploy. Under website name, we can provide the variable name here itself. So we'll provide variables.IIS website name. And for virtual application, we will use another variable that we have already defined, which is IIS web app name. And for package or folder, we have to provide the path where our artifacts are copied. So if we go to our build pipeline, and the build pipeline has created the artifact under web app 02 drop folder, and under which we have a core web app 02. So to fetch that, we have to provide the path as pipeline.workspace. So pipeline.workspace is a built-in variable used by deployment pipeline to point to the deployment machine, and under that we have created a folder called build pipeline using this task. So our artifacts are getting downloaded here, and under that it will create a folder called core web app 02 drop. So we will provide the relative path here, and under that we want to use the published folder core web app 02. So we will provide core web app 02 here. Now click on add, just correct the indentations. Now after deployment we will just start the IIS again. So I'll copy this, paste it here, name the task as start IIS. Under action set start website and provide the variable name here. Click on save. So before running, I just renamed this pipeline earlier. So to rename this, just go to pipelines, select the pipeline which you want to rename, and here under three dots, click on rename or move. Click on run. And it has now completed. So let's go to the VM, and in IIS refresh default website. So here you can see that our web application has been deployed. Now browse the application. So as you can see that the application is running. So this is how we can deploy a web application on IIS using deployment pipeline. Thank you for watching the video. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.